The full moon hangs high, like the eyes of a fox, looking at the world indifferently. Peaceful town. Royal Demon Division. The cast iron room is not large, and there are various animal specimens hanging on the surrounding walls. At this moment, there was a weasel lying stiffly on the desk in front of Joe Deo. Compared to a normal yellow-skinned mouse, this one is 2 or 3 times bigger, similar to a local dog. The fur is shiny like brocade, and the most striking thing is that there is a tuft of white hair on the forehead. Joe Deo took out a glazed jade needle from the toolbox, inserted it into the forehead of the yellow-skinned mouse, turned it gently, and pulled it out again. There is no black gas entanglement on the tip of the needle, which means that the evil spirits in this monster have been dissipated and can be sealed. This is the last step in eliminating demons. Monsters are evil and evil. If this kind of thing is not handled well, if it is contacted by ordinary people, it will lead to serious illness, confusion, and even death. The most terrifying thing is that some monsters are not completely dead, and they will use their souls to regain their anger. Therefore, sealing the demon is the most inconspicuous, but also the most essential step. However, those who do this kind of work are called demon sealers. The worst thing to say is that the corpses were collected. Within the Yuyeo division, they were considered the lowest level existence. After all, after the monster dies, the evil spirits leak out, and long-term contact is not good for the health. Therefore, there is a rule for being a conferring demon master. Before the age of 30, you must change careers. If you can't be promoted, you should leave the Yuyeo division. There are very few people like Joe Deo who did this when he was only 17 years old. Some people would rather fight and pick than deal with the corpses of monsters all day long. I heard that Zhao Yuanwei was miserable. After being attached to this thing, the chickens had been barked for a month, and the blood of the chickens had drank 3 tanks. Now I shivered when I heard the chickens cry. Beside him, Wang Xiaoai couldn't help saying, "Is this thing so powerful? He is different from Joe Deo. He came here to help just a transition, and he will be transferred to other departments in a short time. If he is lucky, he can step into the 4th transformation of the refining realm Yushin, and maybe he can become a demon slayer." After all, Wang Xiaoai's family in Ping'an town can be regarded as a big family, and the family has the conditions to help him pave the way. There is still a live one locked in the demon lock prison. Do you want to try it? Joe Deo took out a topaz-forged dagger from the toolbox and said lightly. It is recorded in the working manual of Yuyac that a weasel has a pico. It means that a yellow-skinned mouse like this, if such white hair grows between the eyebrows, has already lived past 30 years, and is considered a monster. This kind of yellow-skinned demon likes to hide in mansions, and once it settles down, it will definitely bring disaster. The dagger in Joe Dao's hand pierced and flew, like a small snake, and cut the veins of the weasel's limbs, followed by smashing its brain and celestial spirit, and sealed it with fire ashes. Nailed it! Joe Deo King sighed. At this time, the corpse of the yellow-skinned rat was tied like a zongzi by a ruler full of runes. Under the ban of the demon shroud, no trace of evil will ever leak out. It's only 2 taels of silver a month for such dirty work, and it's not enough to spend the night in Wangchun Tower. Although Wang Xiaoai is young, he is a frequent visitor to Wangchun Tower, where he has a private room all year round. Joe Deo stared at him, holding back for a long time before saying a word. Old Versailles. Hey? What do you mean? Wang Xiaoai was stunned. Praise you. Joe Deo was about to speak. Rumbling. Suddenly, the sound of the gate rising came suddenly. Joe Deo frowned. Those demon slayer guards were always like this, going in and out at will, never saying hello. However, the demon slayer guards are all accomplished masters, at least they have reached the 4th transformation of the refinement realm Yushin. The so-called cultivation is to cultivate one's own body, that is, to cultivate the realm, which is divided into 9 changes. The first change is to convince the pulse. The second change, 9 bulls and 2 tigers. The third change, copper skin and iron bone. The fourth change, wandering gods and controlling chi. The fifth transformation, expelling symbols and transforming evil spirits. The sixth transformation, thinking forms a soldier. The seventh change was a shock. The eighth change, the blood is really hot. The ninth transformation, 100 orifices gather spirits. Ordinary cultivators, even if they master the method of cultivation and take medicinal herbs day and night, it is still difficult to refine the first flexible channel to perfection and open up the 12 hidden channels in the body. However, if you want to enter the Yuyeo division and become a demon slayer, the premise is to train in Yushen Yuki, and your spirit is strong enough to see evil spirits and injure your body with blood. Therefore, in the eyes of monster slayer guards, not to mention low-level existences like Joe Deo and the others, even ordinary cultivators would not take them seriously. Hey! Outside the door, 2 powerful breaths rushed in. He has become a wandering spirit, his body is strong, his blood is full, and his breath is much heavier than ordinary people. Joe Deo looked up and saw a man and a woman walking in. The two were wearing black robes and armor with gold embroidery borders, and white feather marks on their chests. This represents the official rank of the Demon Slayer Guard. The higher the official rank, the stronger the strength and the better the treatment. The male Su Jian is Bai Ling San Yu. The female Gu Xiang Ling is Bai Ling Yu. At this time, Su Jian was carrying the treasured saber on his waist, but he was holding a grey-white rabbit in his hand. The rabbit's body was like a piglet. Although it was dead, its hair was still up and down. As soon as the two walked in, Wang Xiaoai swayed a little and felt sick. Although ordinary people cannot see evil spirits, they are particularly easily affected by them. Now that this rabbit demon is dead, the evil is naturally evil. Take it, deal with it quickly. Su Jian waved the rabbit demon in his hand without looking at it, and sent it at will. Wang Xiaoai was in a trance, and subconsciously wanted to pick it up. Little Yi! At this moment, Zhou Dao's complexion changed slightly and he shouted sharply. Su Jian is a master of wandering spirits and qi. He has a strong spirit and blood like dragons and tigers. Naturally, he is not afraid of evil. However, once ordinary people come into contact with them, they will suffer from serious illness in the lightest form, and life-threatening situations in the serious case. According to the rules, Su Jian should do some simple treatment to the corpse of the rabbit demon before sending it. After all, except for the demon slayer guards, no one else in the Yuyeo division has the cultivation base that can resist evil. At this moment, Wang Xiaoai also regained his senses. He looked at his hand in midair, and at the corpse of the rabbit demon in front of him, with a hint of fear in his eyes. He hurriedly shrank back and retreated to Zhou Dao's side. It's really a bunch of useless things. Su Jian sneered, I can't even do this little thing well. As he spoke, his arm shook, and he threw the corpse of the rabbit demon directly onto the white jade table. Immediately, a foul smell arose. Zhou Dao hurriedly pulled Wang Xiaoai back to the corner. Ha ha ha, I'm really afraid of death. Seeing this scene, Su Jian seemed to find it extremely funny and laughed. Senior brother. Gu Xiangling frowned slightly, looking at Zhou Dao, a hint of apology flashed in her beautiful eyes. Immediately afterwards, she walked to the white jade table, took out the silk bag from her waist, opened it, and evenly sprinkled the evil dissolving sand on the rabbit demon's body. This thing can disperse the evil spirits in the corpse of the monster. Generally, it can be cleaned up after standing for 3 days and 3 nights. At that time, Zhou Dao and the others were able to clean up the corpses, and they couldn't touch them at will. It's work. Gu Xiangling smiled apologetically and didn't say anything more. The Demon Slayer Guard has a special status, and he doesn't need to explain it to anyone. I'll leave this garbage to you. Su Jian grinned and followed Gu Xiangling. Damn, the dog's eyes look low on people. Wang Xiaoai couldn't help scolding as he looked at the backs of the two who were walking away. Okay, leave it to me here, you can go back first. Zhou Dao glanced at the rabbit demon on the table and said lightly. Brother Dao, are you okay by yourself? Go back if you want to go back, don't be long-winded. Zhou Dao said solemnly. Okay, I'll invite you to drink flower wine another day. Wang Xiaoai was relieved, and jumped out of the mortuary room like a rabbit demon cheating a corpse. In the cast iron room, Zhou Dao was the only one left. He looked outside the door, his eyes became indifferent, and when he walked to buy his case, his right hand stuck out and even grabbed the corpse of the rabbit demon and lifted it up. The evil sands fell one after another, and the stench spread out. At this moment, Zhou Dao's palm squeezed violently, blood and energy surged like a thunderclap, rumbling endlessly, and the cast iron walls trembled slightly. In an instant, all the evil spirits in the rabbit demon were dispersed. The seventh transformation of the refining realm. Shocking thunder. The 7 transformations of the refining realm are shocking. Such realms are rare in Ping'an town. No one would have thought that such a master would be hidden in the small confinement room. Of course, no one would doubt it. Because 2 years ago, when Zhou Dao first entered the Yuyao division, he was just an ordinary person who had just stepped into the first change. In 2 years, from Tong Mei to convince, all the way to promotion, to reach all-powerful thunder. Such a speed is unbelievable even in the world, let alone in Ping'an town. Not bad. Zhou Dao tried his hand and showed a satisfied smile. As a traveler, he has been in this world for 17 years. In this world where Taoism and monsters exist, a different kind of life will surely be opened. At the beginning, Zhou Dao thought so. However, reality slapped him in the mouth. When he was still in the swaddle, Zhou Dao was abandoned without even drinking a mouthful of free milk. Before the temple was destroyed, a mad old Taoist took him in. Just when Zhou Dao thought he was going to start cultivating unparalleled exercises and embark on the road of slaughtering gods against the sky, the cruel reality slapped his 2 big ears again. The old-fashioned sect was called the Sunset Sect, and it was just like the name of the sect when it fell. Except for a broken Taoist temple, an ancestral tomb, and even a mountain gate. Even the sect books of the imperial court do not have the name of the Sunset Sect. In this world, sects are like universities. The famous mountain sect of the family is either 985 or 211. The Sunset Sect is not even a Yeji University, at most it is Hongxiang Specialized Technical College. At the age of 15, Lao Dao owed a lot of debt, and he was overwhelmed. A broken Taoist temple was flattened and repaid by its creditors. Zhou Dao was dumbfounded. He had never encountered such a thing in his previous life. He didn't expect that he would be forcibly demolished after crossing over. Not long after, on the original site of the Taoist temple, a bathing center was erected, sure to make money. In desperation, Zhou Dao's ancestral tomb was also pushed to prevent the sunset, so he chose a dark and windy night for a month to steal it, to move the tomb. Zhou Dao was disappointed, he underestimated the poverty of Sunset Sect. Except for a coffin, the ancestors have long been hollowed out by his predecessors. Zhou Dao scolded all the 18 generations of the ancestors of the previous disciples of the Sunset Sect, even the tomb of the ancestor. These beasts who bullied their teachers and destroyed their ancestors. The most important thing is that nothing was left to him, a bunch of rubbish. Zhou Dao scolded, but his attention was involuntarily attracted by the coffin of the patriarch. For so many years, no one has said to open it up to the grandfather. Think of those unworthy descendants. Zhou Dao grievously pried open the coffin of the grandfather. Damn, even Lao Tzu's skull is not spared. There are people in the descendants of the Sunset Sect. Just as he opened the coffin, an old voice suddenly resounded in the moonlit night. Grandfather, the corpse was deceived. The moon is dark and the wind is high, the ancient tomb in the wilderness. This voice almost didn't make Zhou Dao cross again. Just when he was in shock, a series of information poured into Zhou Dao's mind. After 15 years, Zhou Dao's golden finger finally arrived. Grandpa has a spirit in the sky, and by sacrificing monsters, you can get various rewards. In that year, Zhou Dao entered the Yuyao division and worked in the mortuary room for 2 years. This is simply his paradise. There is no need to take risks, those demon slayers will send over the exterminated monsters. After some concealment, Zhou Dao would steal the beam and replace it when he finally burned the monster, secretly hide it, and use it for sacrifice. Zhou Dao sacrificed for the first time chicken demon, and received the reward Wuji Bei Feng Wan. After swallowing it, it directly opened up the 3 hidden veins in the body. The first transformation of the refining realm is to open up the 12 hidden veins in the body. Ordinary people have limited strength because they rely solely on flesh and blood to store energy. Once the hidden 12 veins are opened, they can swallow the medicinal herbs and store energy without limit, thus making the body rapidly improve. The stronger the physical body, the more vigorous the blood energy that can be accommodated, and the stronger the spiritual power. This is a direct way to deal with monsters from then on. Zhou Dao had no doubts about the power of sacrifice that he possessed. Although he didn't know why the ancestor of the Sunset sect could have such great magical powers. I don't know why Patriarch is so psychic, why the Sunset sect still declines so far. But what about him? He just wanted to stay in the Yuyao Sea, do nothing, sacrifice his ancestors every day to improve his strength. Sacrifice the white fish essence, get the reward water avoidance charm, sacrifice the wolf demon and get the reward Yuehua Dan, sacrifice the centipede spirit and get the reward thousand-handed Vajra hammer. With the many rewards obtained from the sacrifice, it took Zhou Dao only half a month to directly cultivate the first transformation Tong Mei I persuasion to perfection, penetrating the 12 meridians in the body. In 2 months, he cultivated into the second transformation of the refinement realm, and he possessed the power of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. It took another month, and Zhou Dao cultivated into the third transformation of the refining realm, bronze skin and iron bone, and ordinary swords could not be injured. At this time, Zhou Dao relied on various rewards to wash the marrow of the Book of Changes, regenerate the bones, repair the internal organs, and refine the flesh on the outside. Refine the body, strengthen the soul, and store blood. Finally, when Zhou Dao entered the Yuyao division for 7 months, he successfully stepped into the 4th transformation of the refining realm Yushin Yuki. Zhou Dao, who has completed the 4th transformation, can sense evil spirits with his powerful soul, identify monsters and fight enemies with blood. This realm is also the basic requirement for becoming a demon slayer. Like Su Jian, Gu Xiangling is also a practitioner of this level. After practicing the 4th transformation, Zhou Dao chose to continue to hide his strength. Go was in the mortuary room, and without any effort, someone brought the monster in front of him for him to offer sacrifices. Is there anything more beautiful than this in the world? 9 months after entering the Yuyao division, Zhou Dao successfully completed the 5th transformation, dispelling Fu and Huasha. His blood energy transformed again, powerful enough to drive all kinds of talismans to deal with powerful monsters. According to reports, only the experts with the 9 transformations in the refining realm have the ability to refine talismans. In the Yuyao division, only the demon slayer guards with more than 5 feathers of Bailing are qualified to drive the talisman. So far, Zhou Dao has only obtained 2 talismans through sacrifice, which have always been treasured by him and have never been used. In the 2nd year of entering the Yuyao division, Zhou Dao cultivated into the 6th transformation of the refining realm, mind shape transformation soldier. Yuyu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. At this level, the blood energy is transformed again, and it is possible to practice the inner god's art of war and transform its blood energy into the shape of various weapons. Even if it does not drive the talisman, it can still have great killing power. By sacrificing monsters, Zhou Dao has obtained 3 inner god's art of war in total, namely Ice Fire Poison Dragon Spear, the Great Sword of Bliss and Sage Mahamudra. Since his practice, these three inner gods' art of war have reached the level of pure fire in Zhou Dao's hands. Usually monsters come up with one word, dead ball. 2 months ago, Zhou Dao finally practiced the 7th transformation Shocking Thunder. This level of realm is a watershed. Even if you look at the whole town of Ping'an, you can't find a few. Once the 7th transformation is practiced, the blood energy in the body will transform again, giving birth to the power of pure yang. All monsters are most afraid of thunder. The Duke of Heaven was furious, and the evil spirit retreated. Generally, when a monster encounters a master of this level, 100 meters away, they can kill them with one move. At this point, Zhou Dao has officially entered the ranks of the great masters. Even in the Yuyao division, there are probably only a handful of people who can beat him. Sacrifice. Zhou Dao hand squeezed the sword, and a little blood seeped out and landed on the corpse of the rabbit demon. In an instant, the fat body was disintegrating at the speed of the naked eye. Raising his head 3 feet, Zhou Dao could vaguely see an ancient altar floating in the void, with a tablet on it, engraved with ancient characters like dragons and snakes hiding secrets, which could not be distinguished. Sacrificing the rabbit demon to get the Taiyan sword talisman, a mechanical voice resounded in Zhou Dao's mind. This rabbit demon is just an evil middle level monster, and it actually got a talisman. Zhou Dao was overjoyed. The golden light fell, and a silver-white talisman appeared in front of him. 2 years into the Yuyao division, Zhou Dao obtained 3 talismans through sacrifice, namely Water Avoidance Talisman, Invisibility Talisman and Taiyan Sword Talisman, of which only this Taiyan Sword Talisman has an attack. The ability to kill is extremely powerful. Samsung Talisman, a good thing. Zhou Dao couldn't help saying. There are also grades of talismans, with 1 star being the lowest and 9 stars being the strongest. In Ping'an town, the 3-star talisman is already a rare treasure. I heard from the Demon Slayer guards that a 3-star talisman can buy 10 taels of red gold in the market. Red gold is not ordinary gold, 70% of gold is blue, 80% of gold is yellow, and 90% of gold is purple. Only gold that is 10% is red. The so-called gold has no bare feet, and no one is perfect means that 10% of gold does not exist. The real red gold is made by practitioners using alchemy techniques, adding great medicine, calcining lead and mercury, and refining it into gold. This kind of red gold can also be used to refine the magic weapon for slaying demons, and it can even be used as medicine, which is extremely precious. Keep it for now. Zhou Dao grinned, like a rich man addicted to accumulating wealth. He put the Taiyan sword talisman into the ancient and clumsy green silk sachet around his waist. This sachet is also a treasure, named Kingpan Treasure Bag, and the storage space is almost the size of the entire Yuyashi. At the beginning, Zhou Dao sacrificed a high-level evil monster to obtain this storage bag. That is also the only high-level evil monster that Zhou Dao has encountered so far. After all, Ping'an town is not very big, and there are no famous mountains and rivers around, so there can be no great monsters. Every month, at most, they catch a dozen or so evil-level low-level monsters. Sometimes, in order to achieve the target at the end of the year, SINEI will organize a monster hunting team to go to other towns, or go directly into the mountains to hunt monsters. Of course, the corpses of those monsters were all cheap Zhou Dao. There is another yellow-skinned demon, don't waste it. Zhou Dao flicked his fingers, and a drop of scarlet blood flew out and landed on the weasel. Sacrifice. The yellow-skinned demon's body burned, turned into dust in a blink of an eye, and slowly dissipated. Sacrificing the yellow-skinned demon to get the Niiwan Dan, a mechanical voice resounded in Zhou Dao's mind, followed by a stream of light. Zhou Dao raised his hand to catch it, spread out his palm, a purple pill, exuding a refreshing aroma. It's Niiwan Dan again. Niiwan Dan can wash the marrow of the Book of Changes, strengthen the internal organs, and nourish the flesh and blood externally. It is a secret medicine for cultivation. To deal with monsters, mainly rely on blood. To strengthen the blood energy is through the cultivation of the physical body. The stronger the physical body, the more blood energy it can hold. Evil level and low level monsters like the yellow-skinned demon obtain Niiwandan after offering sacrifices. I don't know when I will be able to cultivate to the 8th transformation. Zhou Dao murmured. The 8 changes of the refining realm blood qi and true fire, the power of pure yang in the body is strong, and the blood energy is transformed again, blazing like real fire. Ordinary monsters can't even get close. Experts of this level are probably invincible in Ping'an town. According to Zhou Dao's observation over the past 2 years, there should be no masters of the 9 transformations in the Imperial Demon Division. An existence like that cannot live in such a small place, and has been transferred to a big city long ago. Work hard and sacrifice to the ancestors. Zhou Dao repeatedly told himself. If he wants to become stronger, he has to stick to his current job position and sacrifice his ancestors constantly. Only then can he hope to break through to true blood fire. Thinking of this, Zhou Dao opened his mouth and swallowed the Niiwandan directly. The majestic medicinal power turned into a warm current, scattered into the limbs and bones, and the sleeping blood energy was like a monster, adding another strength. The next day, Zhou Dao was as usual. Just as he walked into the gate of Yuyaisi, he heard a loud noise. Everyone got together in groups of 3 and 5, and had a lot of discussions. "Boss, why did you come here? Something big happened." Wang Xiaoai came over and pulled Zhou Dao aside. "What happened?" Su Jian made a breakthrough. "Hey!" Zhou Dao was stunned for a moment. "When we met last night, Su Jian was still in 4 changes in the refining realm. And with his eyesight, he can easily see that Su Jian's foundation is still a long way from the 5 transformations of the refining realm. Breakthrough in one night? This guy is now the 5 transformations of the refining realm dispelling Fu and Huasha, and I'm afraid he will be even more defiant in the future." Wang Xiaoai said angrily. Su Jian was arrogant by nature, relying on his identity as the Demon Slayer Guard. He never took Zhou Dao and the others in his eyes. He always thought that others were just a foil for the Demon Slayer Guard. Now, he has stepped into the 5 transformations of the refining realm, which is naturally even more insufferable. Experts of this level are not often seen in the Yuyao division. He needs another white feather on his clothes. Zhou Dao couldn't help but said. Now Su Jian is Bai Ling Sanyu, breaking through the realm, will inevitably be promoted and raised. That is the 4 feathers of Bai Ling. People are more mad than people. Wang Xiao acetic acid gritted his teeth. The monthly salary of their demon sealing master was 2 taels of silver. The monthly salary of a demon slayer guard with 2 white feathers is 15 taels of silver. The monthly salary of Bai Ling's 3 feathers is 35 taels. Bai Ling's monthly salary for 4 feathers is 50 taels, which is not even counting the subsidies for other cultivation resources. These subsidies are not available to the demon sealing master. The huge salary gap caused those demon slayer guards to have a natural sense of superiority. "You're not bad for money." Zhou Dao didn't feel anything. He just wanted to stay in the Yuyao division and quietly sacrifice to the ancestors. "I'm so bad at it, I can't stand that guy's arrogant appearance." Wang Xiaoai was as angry as a provoked stallion, restless all over, but he didn't know how to vent. Senior brother Su's Daoism has risen, it is gratifying to congratulate, and I will rely on it a lot in the future. In the end, it is senior brother Su who is very powerful. At this age, he has practiced exorcism and transforming evil spirits. I am afraid that he will be transferred to Dachan soon. Senior brother Su has to treat you. At this moment, Su Jian came out, with a smile on his face, a smile on his face. It's easy to say, I will be the host of Zwixianlu tonight. Su Jian waved his hand, which immediately caused a jubilation. Zwixianlu is the largest restaurant in Ping'an town, and the cheapest table costs 20 taels. Su Jian has a lot of money and doesn't care about this small amount of money at all. Hey! At this moment, Zhou Dao raised his brows. How powerful was his divine soul? He noticed that there was a trace of black energy surging between Su Jian's forehead, which penetrated into his body like a small snake, and disappeared in an instant. Demon. To monsters, demonic energy is like human blood energy, it is the energy that maintains that particular life form. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. After the monster dies, the monster energy in the body decays and turns into evil spirits. Is there a trace of demonic energy hidden in Su Jian's body? He is not only a human being, but also a demon slayer. Zhou Dao looked suspiciously at Su Jian, who seemed to sense the fiery gaze and turned to look. The two just looked at each other. He is practicing with the help of monsters. Zhou Dao speculated. It is contained in the taboo chapter of the workbook of Yu Yaosi that some monsters can give birth to many mysteries and be used by human beings after special treatment. For example, there is a kind of monster named Stomach Immortal. It is rumored that the pig and dolphin will grow blue-toothed fangs and turn into a monster when they live for 15 years. After the pig demon dies, the evil spirits will not disperse in the body, and after the body is corrupted, the stomach will also turn into a kind of monster, named Stomach Immortal. It is said that the liquid secreted by Stomach Immortal can dissolve fat. If humans take this liquid, they can lose at least 50 pounds per month without exercising or dieting. Once, this liquid was all the rage among the upper-class nobles. A drop of Stomach Immortal liquid can be sold for 50 taels of red gold. However, once you take too much, the whole person will be melted away, and if you are unlucky, you will become a skinny monster. Therefore, there are many taboos to use something similar to Yaojin, and it is expressly forbidden. It's not an ordinary demon. Zhou Dao's eyesight was able to deceive many masters of the Yuyao division. It can be seen that the demon behind Su Jian is extraordinary. But it's none of my business. Zhou Dao turned around and walked towards the demon house. He just wanted to do nothing and sacrificed his ancestors in peace. Brother Dao, where was the rabbit demon last night? At this moment, Wang Xiaoai chased after him. Naturally, the rabbit demon from last night was sacrificed by Zhou Dao to the patriarch and replaced with a Taiyan sword talisman. There. Zhou Dao pointed to a red iron coffin in the corner. His face was red, and he said without a heartbeat. Generally, the monsters that have just been beheaded are sealed in the monster coffin, sprinkled with evil sand, and wait for 3 days and 3 nights. After the evil has been completely dissolved, they can be invited out and burned. Wang Xiaoai glanced at it and flinched a little. Last night, he almost hit the road, with lingering fears in his heart. Brother Dao, I heard that the rabbit demon's teeth can be trained into a kind of demon treasure, can you give it to me? Wang Xiaoai lowered his voice, showing a wretched look. You are really indecent. Zhou Dao was stunned for a moment, and then he pouted. According to the working manual of Yuyao division, the rabbit demon is good at Jiuehua, but it is the most sinister monster. It is rumored that after its teeth are purified, it is ground into powder, and the woman feeds it with tea soup, which can suppress the dew in the body, but if it is sexual intercourse, even if there are no safety measures, there will be no pregnancy. In addition, after taking this tooth powder, the woman's body became hot and lustful, and it was once all the rage in Qingluo Chunyuan. It shouldn't be a problem to get 2 rabbit teeth. Wang Xiaoai urged. The court has a strict order prohibiting the production and sale of Yaojin in any form and by any method. As public servants, we should set an example and abide by our duties. Zhou Daiyi said rightly. Yu Yaosi is under the control of the imperial court. If he was in the previous life, he would be a civil servant with an iron job. No matter how many people take the test, they will not be admitted. Wang Xiaoai wanted to take advantage of his position to pluck the wool of the public. Once someone finds out, you will not only get out of bed and get out, but you will also be assigned to join the army. Zhou Dao categorically refused. When Wang Xiaoai heard this, he looked ashamed. Last night in Ziwa Shunlu, he was too drunk and followed the old man to show off how awesome he was in the Yuyao division. Only then did he open the other party's chat box and talked about the legendary secret medicine between the hooks. Originally, Wang Xiaoai also mentioned it casually. Okay, be confident. With your own abilities, even if you don't have Yaojin, you can make the girls unable to speak the next day. Zhou Dao patted Wang Xiaoai on the shoulder. Brother Dao, you understand me. Wang Xiaoai stood up straight, trying to look as confident as possible. On this day, the entire Yuyao division was immersed in the atmosphere of Su Jian's breakthrough. Those demon slayer guards were busy congratulating and fawning, and they didn't have any new jobs. In the evening, everyone went to Drunk Immortal to drink Su Jian's Gaosheng wine. You didn't invite us. Wang Xiaoai was furious. For this Gaoshenju meal, Su Jian only invited monster slayer guards. As for the others, they were not on his list at all. He was arrogant, but now he has broken through to the point of exorcism, and he doesn't even put them in the eyes of low-level public officials. As expected, Zhou Dao didn't care at all. This kind of person, in his previous life, he saw a lot of no-whiteys, and his eyes were always looking upwards. You are a relative, and if you can't reach his circle, this kind of person won't even look at you. Don't be angry, as long as you become stronger than him, you can on his head. Zhou Dao comforted him casually, and left Yu Yaosi with a package in his hand. The full moon rose in the east, and the jackdaws were startled and stood on the branch. Nanjing is remote, and it is mostly a place where merchants and soldiers live together. Zhou Dao came to a courtyard, pushed open the scarlet door, and walked straight in. Inside the house, the twilight lights are on. You're always so punctual. The old man in grey cloth looked at Zhou Dao who walked in and grinned. What do I want? Zhou Dao sat down and seemed to be quite familiar with the old man. The old man's wrinkled face shook lightly. Without speaking, he took out a box from behind and opened it directly. The stench was blowing towards the face, but there was a red carp inside, with a long beard growing at the corner of its mouth, and a golden scale on its forehead. Zhang Li grows beards and grows scales on his forehead, which is a sign of turning into a demon. Obviously, this is a carp demon, but it is already dead. You are so dedicated, Yu Yaosi's work is not enough for you, and you are looking for monsters all over the world. The old man grinned. As a black market dealer, Yuan Lao has met many people, but not many people spend money to buy the corpses of monsters. Most of them are interested in the refined Yaojin, which is also the main flow of goods in the black market. It's all for work. Zhou Dao didn't explain much. As a demon sealing master, this heavy identity well concealed his true purpose. When there were too few monsters, he would go to Mr. Yuan to buy the corpses of monsters from the black market. Your Yuyao division is under so much work pressure, and Fenjao masters have to memorize indicators. Elder Yuan said casually. Zhou Dao smiled and stretched out his hand to hug the box. Boom! At this moment, Boss Yuan pressed his hand down and covered the box. One-handed payment and one-handed delivery. Zhou Dao raised his hand, put the package in his arms on the table, and untied it. Inside is a wooden box. After opening it, a placenta like a jade emerges. What a complete miscarriage! Yuan Lao said with a grin. Zhou Dao was the only one of his clients who traded with Yao Zhen. Because he works in the Yu Yao division, Zhou Dao can get a lot of Yao Zhen, and he has become one of Yuan Lao's important sources of goods. Does anyone want this too? Zhou Dao said casually. Sacrifices can only use complete monsters, so many valuable leftovers were made into Yaojin by him and sold to Yuan Lao. The so-called fetus is a peculiar kind of Yaojin, which can make people gain the hearts and minds of their loved ones. According to the chapter on monsters in the Working Manual of Yu Yaosi, in ancient times there was a strange beast called Niao, which was rumored to be a close relative of wolves. It is said that the fetus born by Nian is a monster. If it is taken with decoction, it can attract the opposite sex, and many children will be blessed. There was a young man in Longxi who went on a mountaineering outing and entered an ancient cave by accident. Not long after, the young man came to look for the woman who admired her. It turned out that the woman was arguing with her fiancé and asked him to talk to him. The youth is overjoyed and relieved in every possible way. On the second day, the woman and her fiancé were reconciled as before, thanking the young man repeatedly, saying that he was extremely important. The young man rejoiced in his heart, kept in the dark all the time, and dedicated himself silently. Not long afterward, the woman's marriage contract broke down, and she turned to the arms of the youth. The next month, the two got married. 5 months later, the woman gave birth to a pair of twins, and the family of 4 lived happily together. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. There are always idiots and haters in this world. Yuan Lao smiled. His client had been begging for a long time before he got this unfortunate tire from Zhou Dao. It is said that the woman he likes is always attentive to him, neither rejecting nor going any further. No matter how much he paid, he could only get 1 or 2 words of praise. With this, you will definitely be able to hold the beautiful woman back. Licking a dog won't end well. Zhou Dao was too lazy to inquire, so he took the box and went out. Boy! Elder Yuan suddenly stopped him. What's up? You are still young, and you have not been in this business for a long time. Have you ever thought about leaving the Yuyao division? Elder Yuan said with a smile, like an elder, I can help you. In his opinion, demon sealing masters really have no future, especially young people, they shouldn't waste their good years there. Zhou Dao pondered for a while, then suddenly looked back and said seriously, Old Yuan, have you ever heard a word? What? There is no distinction between high and low work, but the social division of labor is different. The voice fell, and Zhou Dao floated away. Old Yuan looked at Zhou Dao's back, and a terrifying light suddenly appeared in his stunned eyes. A gentleman is impoverished, but he is not shocked by humiliation. Yuan Lao couldn't help but praise. Not to mention the small town of Ping'an, who in the world can be willing to be a small demon sealer for 2 years. Facing the opportunity, he was indifferent and chose to continue to settle down and shine in such an ordinary position. Such a heart! Such young people are really rare. Zhou Dao. Yuan Lao narrowed his eyes slightly, murmured and chewed Zhou Dao's name. Zhou Dao returned home and closed the door. The yard is not big, the 2 rooms are in a remote place, and the annual rent is only 50 taels of silver. The dim candle lighted the room. Zhou Dao opened the wooden box, revealing the corpse of the carp demon. When a monster dies, it is no different from an ordinary animal corpse. If it is an ordinary person, it may not be able to distinguish it. Sacrifice. Zhou Dao flicked his fingers, and a drop of blood stretched out and landed on the carp demon's corpse. Sacrifice the carp demon and get a peachwood sword. A mechanical voice resounded in Zhou Dao's mind. Immediately afterwards, the golden light fell, and a 3-foot-long wooden sword appeared. This wooden sword is purple, and the lines on it are like the veins of the human body, showing blood red. Zhang Yuan Ling Daomu. Zhou Dao's eyes suddenly lit up. This is not an ordinary peachwood sword, it is made from a rare spiritual root called Zhang Yuan Ling Tao. According to legend, this kind of peach is mostly hidden in the abyss, blooming in 10 years, bearing fruit in 10 years, and finally being bombarded by thunder, and the remaining fruit is truly mature. Ordinary people eat one, and they can immediately break through to the 4 transformations of the refinement realm Yushin Yuki. Therefore, Zhang Yuan Ling Tao is extremely precious and only recorded in ancient Chinese books. A place like Ping'an town definitely won't have such treasures. As for the trunk of Zhang Yuan Ling Tao, it is a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Its texture is comparable to that of fine steel. It naturally restrains evil spirits and can destroy evil spirits. It also has great lethality on the blood of cultivators. This thing is not worse than Samsung Talisman and Inner God's Art of War, or even better. Tisk tisk, what a baby! Joe Deo couldn't put it down and played with the peachwood sword. He found that the blood energy in the body was pulled by the peachwood sword and ran along the blood-colored veins above. Every week of operation, the blood qi becomes stronger by 1 point. Zhang Yuan Ling Tao suffered a lightning strike, and it contains the power of pure yang, which is the most suitable for purifying blood. In ancient times, many monks used this wood to build retreats. It seems that it won't be long before I step into the 8 transformations of refining realm. Joe Deo was full of expectations. The next day, Joe Deo came to the Yuyao division early in the morning as usual. 5th guard, follow me all. As soon as he stepped into the gate of Yuyao, he heard a rush of shouting. Immediately afterwards, a line of demon-slaying guards filed out of the Yuyao division. Something happened. Zhou Dao's heart skipped a beat. The Yuyao division has a total of 12 teams of demon slayer guards, with the minimum number of 13 people and the maximum number of 25 people. There are 17 people in the 5th guard, and all of them are dispatched, which is extremely rare and abnormal. The red incident has killed people. Beside him, the jailer in charge of guarding the demon lock Chen Gong said. How many people died? Zhou Deo raised his brows. Ordinary monsters are not very harmful, and mortals lose a little anger at most, and get seriously ill. Just like Zhang Yuanwei, who was entangled by the yellow-skinned demon before, laying on the bed for 8 months, lost more than 30 pounds. Whenever a human life is caused, it means that it is not an ordinary monster. Zhou Deo has been in the Yuyao division for 2 years, and he has only encountered such an emergency once. The 3rd guard rushed over last night. Chen Gong whispered. 2 teams. Zhou Deo was stunned. This is something that has never happened before. Lord Duwei has already passed a letter. How serious are you talking about? I heard that more than 1 person died. Chen Gong muttered. Obviously, Yuyao will be busy next time, and these people don't want to stop, they need to be on standby for 24 hours. Master Feng, follow me. At this moment, the 7th guard also dispatched, and with an order, the 7 demon sealers in the class, including Zhou Deo, all followed suit. Brother Deo, why is there such a big battle? Wang Xiaoai looked a little nervous. When you arrive at the scene, don't talk nonsense. Zhou Deo reminded. In an old house in the east of the city, before the carriages and horses stopped, they smelled a pungent burnt odor. Such a strong demonic aura. In the car, Wang Xiaoai couldn't help but want to vomit. Quick, don't linger, hurry up. A demon slayer guard urged. Zhou Deo and the others got off the carriage and walked into the old house. Inside the courtyard, there was a mess, the ground was scorched, and even the only willow tree was burnt to black, leaving only the bare trunk. On the ground, there were wild foxes lying on the ground, all scorched, their fur and flesh sticking together, exuding a pungent stench. Fox demon? So many! Next to him, Zhao Guangming couldn't help shouting. As a demon sealing master, he came in 3 months later than Zhou Deo, but he had never seen such a big battle. After a rough count, there were 11 fox demon corpses in the courtyard. Don't be stunned, there is still one in the room. At this time, the demon slayer guards were already busy, and most of them began to search around, as if they were afraid of slipping through the net. The demon chi condenses and does not dissipate, it is easy to attract demons over time, and it is even more troublesome for ordinary people to be contaminated. Therefore, it must be killed with blood. As for Zhou Deo and others, they are responsible for disposing of these fox demon corpses. This family is miserable enough. They were stared at by a litter of fox demons, and they even served the pot. I heard that it has been half a month, and the child has no bones left. No one found out that in half a month, how much trouble has to be sorted out. Those fox demons are highly skilled and transformed into the appearance of this family, and no one has found out. A group of demon slayer guards were discussing. Brother Deo, is this fox demon so fierce? Didn't the book say that fox demons are all charming and charming ladies? Wang Xiaoi whispered. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Zhou Deo glanced at him and said lightly, it's okay to read less. After talking, he started to get busy. This is a huge project, and it was already dusk when it was almost finished. The demon slayer guards also rushed back to the house one after another. Senior brother Su, you are here too. Su Jian walked in, and along with everything was Gu Xiangling, the famous beauty of Yu Yaosi. These beasts are really lawless. Su Jian sneered, if I had met earlier, I would have smashed these monsters to ashes. With senior brother Su here, those monsters are nothing. Not bad. Senior brother Su is here, and we will be more at ease. The demon slayer guards catered to him. After all, Su Jian was a master of the 5 transformations of the refining realm. His presence here was like a reassurance for everyone. A smile appeared on Su Jian's face, which seemed to be very useful to everyone's praise. At this time, Gu Xiangling looked around the yard, unwilling to let go of any clues. Xiangling, you can just rest, let them do these things. Su Jian stepped forward and did not do it himself like the others. The demonic energy here is too strong, I'm afraid there are still fish that slip through the net. Gu Xiangling frowned slightly. With me here, no matter what kind of monster comes, it will die. Su Jian said to himself. He, the sun has such a big tone. At this moment, from the depths of the old house, there was a sound of laughter like a silver bell. It was as quiet as the dead of night, and thunder broke out, from far to near. In the half-destroyed house, a beautiful figure came, but it was a young girl, with red teeth and white eyes, and her graceful figure was radiant under the tight dress. Wait, come here to die. The girl laughed. Abandoned old house, charred courtyard. The girl stepped on the shoes of green lotus root, and there was a faint smile on the corner of her mouth, and there was no emotion in her soul-struck eyes. Fox. The demon slayer guards were like great enemies. They were all masters of the 4 transformations of the refining realm. As soon as the girl Fang appeared, she felt a strong demonic aura, which was as deep as an abyss, making people shudder. Under the shroud of this demonic energy, those demon sealers were already trembling and their faces were pale. Wang Xiaoi began to roll his eyes. Zhao Guangming trembled like a sieve and could hardly stand up. Kill. At this moment, a demon slayer guard, with a fierce look in his eyes, pulled out the white tiger fine sword from his waist, and stood up to him. The girl stood still, her jade hand slowly stretched out 2 fingers, and squeezed gently. The white tiger's fine knife is like a quagmire, and it can no longer drop an inch. At the same time, the blade trembled with a hum sound, and the blood energy wrapped around it suddenly dissipated. A trace of panic flashed in the eyes of the demon slayer guard. A practitioner's blood qi, absorbing the essence of the sun and moon, forging with great medicine, such as burning lead and mercury, is pure and yang, and it has a fatal lethal power to evil spirits. Not only was the girl in front of her unaffected, but she actually dissipated her blood with her bare hands. Go back. At this moment, Gu Xiangling let out a coquettish drink, but it was too late. The girl's jade hand slid lightly, like cutting tofu, and penetrated into the chest of the demon slayer, and her beating heart was dug out. Such an terrifying sight made Wang Xiaoi faint. Beast! 2 strong winds roared, the sword light splashed, and blood energy was entangled, which was several times stronger than the demon slayer just now. The 5th guard Sima Gan, and the 3rd guard Huo Changjin shot at the same time. They are full of vigor, roaring like angry waves, they have already reached the peak of the 4 transformations of the refining realm, and they are only one step away from entering the 5 transformations of the refining realm. It's ridiculous. The girl let out a silver bell-like laughter. She waved her dress, hunting with the demonic wind, and directly lifted the 2 Davids away. The white tiger fine sword fell in response to the sound, and penetrated deeply into the ground. Something that doesn't know how to live or die. At this moment, a loud shout resounded. Su Jian finally made his move. He has the highest cultivation level among the Demon Slayer guards present. The bright yellow talisman shot out like an arrow, and Su Jian's blood was attached to it, like the soul of the talisman, burning violently. Dispel the talisman and transform the evil spirit. The girl's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a deep meaning. The power of Fu Lu is much stronger than pure blood energy. In an instant, the bright yellow talisman burned out, and a ball of fire flew out. Senior brother Su is mighty. Everyone shouted. Monsters are most afraid of fire, and this fire talisman is a 1-star talisman, and it is a reward given by Su Jian after his promotion. Arrogant in front of me. Su Jian sneered. How dare you show off with such strength? The girl chuckled, and with a wave of her jade hand, the demonic wind was like a roaring beast. Scattered everywhere. Impossible. Su Jian's face was pale and his mind was lost. What kind of monster is this? With every gesture and a gust of wind, it is not even afraid of the fire suppression talisman. This. At this moment, the entire courtyard fell into a dead silence. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. The monster in front of him is really too powerful, so powerful that it has never been seen before. The demonic aura was overwhelming, even as strong as Su Jian felt a trace of fear. Will the dignified demon slayer also be afraid? The girl said with a smile. Rumbling. Suddenly, her blue silk stood upright, and the demonic aura surged like a cloud, roaring past. In an instant, figures fell one after another. In the face of such a monster, even the demon slayer guards couldn't resist. The evil entered the body and passed out. Damn it! Su Jian gritted his teeth, but in the end he couldn't hold it, he staggered and fell down. The human heart is like a demon, it's ridiculous. The girl's warm red lips squirmed gently, and her lubricating tongue licked the corners of her mouth. The taste of demon slayer guards is much more delicious than ordinary people, and it is a great supplement to monsters. Thinking of this, the girl's excited body trembled slightly, and her fiery gaze swept across the food everywhere. Suddenly, the girl's eyes shuddered, her inadvertent glance suddenly stopped, and she looked back suddenly. Inside the courtyard, there was actually a figure standing upright. Hey! The girl was in shock, staring at the figure, looking at the clothes. This person was not the demon slayer guard. You, how are you all right? The girl couldn't help but asked. Under her demonic wind, even Su Jian, who has 5 transformations in the refining realm, can't resist it. The young man in front of him is not even a demon slayer. How can he stop it? Should I be okay? Zhou Dao shrugged. In the courtyard, the demonic energy was hunting, but it couldn't fall on him at all. Zhou Dao came slowly, and if he was strolling in a leisurely courtyard, the terrifying and demonic aura seemed to have eyes, and he fled frantically. You! This scene was as shocking as a rock and shocked the eyeballs. In an instant, the girl's body was covered in sweat, and she was dripping with sweat. She looked at Zhou Dao in disbelief, she couldn't believe her eyes. If it is closed, it will be closed, and all evils will not invade. Such a realm is at least the 6 transformations of the refining realm. Do you want to form a soldier? The girl cried out in a voiceless voice. She never dreamed that there would be such a young master in Yaosi, who would have such a cultivation at such an age. Good fox! Zhou Dao grinned. In an instant, the girl's figure was disillusioned, and a white-haired fox ran out of the icy demonic aura and fled outside the courtyard. Demons with profound cultivation bases are good at transforming human figures with demonic energy. Only powerful practitioners can overcome the obstacles. When the white-haired fox found its body, it didn't dare to turn its head back, and fled wildly. At this moment, the sound of rumbling sounded in the courtyard of Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, like a mighty thunder, with unparalleled power. The 7 transformations of the refining realm are shocking and shocking. The white-haired fox's hair stood on end, and he almost fell to his death. Such a young master of 7 transformations? At this time, the white-haired fox was so frightened that his guts were split. For it, a master of this level was like a demon king coming into the world. There is great terror between life and death. At this moment, it felt the fate of life and death, its body was dominated by terror, and its cultivation began to regress. Intense blood filled the heavens and the earth, and violent power was crushed from all directions. Do not want. The white-haired fox let out a scream, like an electric shock, the fiery blood swept like a thunder light, directly ruining its vitality, and the majestic power even dissipated all the demonic chi in its body. Zhou Dao walked over and picked up the dead white fox in one hand. The latter's body gradually lost its temperature, and his hair was charred black, obviously the effect of being bombarded by Zhou Dao's blood. The thunder, the power of blood pregnant with pure yang, erupted like a mighty spring thunder, even a high evil level monster could not bear it. As soon as Zhou Dao made his move, there were 5 thunders. There is no reason for this fox demon to survive. Evil level high evil monster. Zhou Dao looked at the corpse of the wit-escent fox demon, his eyes lit up, it was worth more than those little fox demons combined. In the 2 years he has been in the Yuyao division, Zhou Dao has only met a high evil monster once. I don't know what kind of reward I can get by offering sacrifices to the ancestors. Zhou Dao was full of expectations. Suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps in my ears, just 100 meters away. Someone is coming. Zhou Dao turned his hand and hid the corpse of the wit-escent demon fox in the kingpan treasure bag. Outside the old house, a carriage stopped. I'm late. Inside the car, an indifferent voice came leisurely, revealing a cold meaning. Master, what are you talking about? Wang Qingguan was about to lift the curtain of the car when she heard the voice, her slender jade hand paused. At this moment, inside the carriage, a burly middle-aged man walked down. He was dressed in armor, trimmed with silver thread, and wore a feather cloak with 7 white feathers embroidered on his chest. By Ling Qiu, in the Yuyao division, there are only 3 Doi adults who have been awarded such a rank. These 3 are masters of the 7 transformations of the refining realm, and they are in charge of the 12 teams of Demon Slayer guards. Now, among the 3 guards, only Chen Qinggang is in Ping'an town. Before entering the house, the master of the 7 transformations in the refining realm frowned. He smelled a strong aura, and a soaring demonic energy that enveloped the sky above the yard, condensing and not dispersing. This kind of demonic energy should have reached the level of an evil level high evil demonic beast. A monster of this level, even the 5 transformations of the refining realm dispelling symbols and huasha is difficult to resist. The ordinary demon slayer guard is the 4 transformations of the refinement realm Yu Shen Yu Qi. In the 12 teams, most of the captains have only reached the strength of the 5 transformations of refining realm dispelling symbols and huasha. It is obviously not enough to deal with such monsters. Thinking of this, Chen Qinggang's brows furrowed into the word Chuan. Beside her, Wang Qingguan's heart skipped a beat. She was not only the captain of the 9th guard, but also a disciple of Chen Qinggang. She knew too much about the teacher's temperament. Whenever Chen Qinggang showed this kind of expression, it meant that something happened that made this Lord Duwei feel a headache. Teacher. Chen Qinggang raised his hand and interrupted, go in and have a look. Inside the yard. All over the place is a mess, the eyes are full of scorched earth. In front of the house, a demon slayer was lying in a pool of blood, his chest was hollowed out, and his heart did not know where to go. Seeing this scene, Rao Shi Wang King Guan's face turned pale, and hurriedly stepped forward to check. Teacher, they all passed out. What a monster! Chen King Gang's expression darkened. It can break through the blood energy, and the evil spirits enter the body, so that even the dignified demon slayer can't resist. How strong is this demon energy? I am afraid that even if he matches, it will cost a lot of work. Thinking of this, Chen King Gang's eyes became fiercer. Obviously, this monster is more ferocious than he imagined. Humph! Chen Qing Gang gave a cold drink, the blood in his body was boiling like a boil, and the deafening voice sounded like a mighty thunder, resounding in the courtyard. Under such a violent shock of blood energy, the demonic energy in everyone's body seemed to be severely damaged and sprang out of the body. In an instant, a painful moan sounded. The three captains Su Jian, Sima Tu, and Huo Chang'an quickly regained consciousness, looked around, and checked their bodies again, with lingering fears. Thank you Lord Du Wei for saving your life. The three of them came over and gave Chen Qing Gang a salute. In their opinion, if it wasn't for Chen Qing Gang's action, with the strength of the demon fox, they would have died 10,000 times. Chen Qing Gang frowned, showing a look of doubt. Teacher, did someone drive away that monster? Wang King Guan was so thoughtful, he figured out the joints in an instant. Isn't Mr. Du Wei shot? Su Jian and the others were stunned for a moment. Now of the three major guards, only Chen Qing Gang stays in Ping'an town. Who else can drive away an evil-level monster besides him? Chen Qing Gang was silent, walked to the center of the courtyard. There was a grey shadow on the blackened ground, just like a fox's figure, and there were a few grey hairs. Chen Qing Gang leaned over, picked up the tuft of grey-white hair, put it in front of his nose and sniffed, and then a look of shock flashed in his deep eyes. It's not driving away, that demon fox has already been beheaded. What? When everyone heard the words, they looked at each other in dismay, and they all saw a hint of astonishment in each other's eyes. How is that possible? That demon fox is at the high level of evil. What kind of strength is needed to kill it in such a short period of time? Wang King Guan was surprised. What a shock! Su Jian and the others looked at each other and couldn't believe it. To be able to kill the evil-level monsters before Chen Qing Gang and the others arrive, and then escape silently, with such strength, he must have reached the 7 transformations of the refining realm. How is that possible? In addition to Lord Du Wei, there are such masters in Ping'an town now. Sima Tu asked in a trance. Master? A real master? Chen Qing Gang's expression was solemn, revealing deep doubts. He himself is the 7 transformations of the refining realm, so he can see much more than the captains like Su Jian. There is a strong demonic aura in this hair, but it hasn't erupted yet. What does this mean? It means that the demon fox was beheaded before he could make a move, and the demonic energy accumulated in his body. Having said that, that person only used one move to kill an evil-level monster. It's a deadly move. How could there be such a master in Ping'an town? Chen Qing Gang's heart set off a huge wave. Teacher, how strong is this person? Wang King Guan couldn't help asking. Ping'an town said it's not a big deal, but it actually hides a master who moved the dignified Weidu? This made Wang King Guan's heart unable to calm down. I'm afraid it's still above me. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com has at least reached the 5 thunder level. Chen Qing Gang said solemnly. The so-called 5 thunders is a rough judgment of the strength of the 7 transformation masters. A master of this level, with blood and energy running for a week, can have 5 thunders. Like Chen Qing Gang, he has only barely reached the level of 3 thunders. As expected of the Dwei of the Imperial Demon Division, his eyes are really vicious. In the corner, Zhou Dao mixed in with the crowd and also woke up. Hearing Chen Qing Gang's remarks, he couldn't help but wonder to himself. In the end, it was Du Wei, who had rich experience. Just based on clues, he could actually judge his general strength. If he was able to achieve this position, he really had two brushes. At this time, Su Jian, Wang Qingguan, and the others were in ups and downs, unable to calm down. The realm of thunder is too far for them, let alone the land of five thunders. That kind of existence can only be used to look up. No one would have imagined that in this small town of Ping'an, besides their Yuyao division's people, there are such masters hidden. Chen Qinggang frowned and fell into deep thought. His eyes were like swords, he swept everyone in the yard, and quickly withdrew his gaze. Go back first, all the evidence is sealed, I want to personally check. Chen Qinggang waved his hand and issued a strict order. It's too dedicated. Zhou Dao slandered to himself when he heard the words. In this way, he couldn't get his hands on the corpses of the other demon foxes. But it doesn't matter, the value of the high-level evil monster just now is far higher than those of the demon fox. I just don't know what reward I can get after offering sacrifices. Zhou Dao couldn't wait. Soon, Yu Yaexi's troops evacuated the old house. Late at night, the full moon rises in the east, and the jackdaws are startled. Inside the old house, a shadowy figure walked in the shadow of the night. Under the moonlight, the woman was wearing a red cloak, and the night wind blew her graceful figure that could not hide her body. There was a maid next to her, who was a little shorter in stature, but her eyes were good and she was dexterous. It's a good way to kill you with one move and have nothing to hide. The woman in red walked to the center of the courtyard, looking at the remaining traces, her beautiful eyes did not show joy or anger. One move is deadly? Who else in Ping'an town can kill Qinju with one move? What kind of strength is this? The woman in red was indifferent, leaning over to reach out, her slender fingers swiped across the scorch marks on the ground. The thunderous, the five thunders hit the top. I can't believe that Chen Qinggang has practiced to such a degree. The woman in red said indifferently. I underestimated him. What? The maid's delicate body trembled slightly, and there was a look of fear in her eyes. For a monster like her, a master of thunder and thunder is simply a disaster, not to mention reaching the five thunders realm, when her blood and energy are running like five thunders, she can't escape. Such a master doesn't even need to mobilize the talisman, and he doesn't even need to use the inner god's art of war, he can slap her to death with a single slap, and there is no suspense at all. It's said that Chen Qinggang is the weakest among the three major guards, but unexpectedly he has reached the realm of the five thunders. The maid looked dignified and worried. Although it's a little trickier, it's nothing. The woman in red slowly got up, shook her head, and a cold look flashed in her beautiful eyes. Right now, the interior of the Yuyao division is empty, and only Chen Qinggang is in charge. This kind of opportunity is a rare opportunity, and it's a must. Miss, don't you want to? The maid said in surprise. I will visit Yu Yaexi in person at night, and I may be able to take off the seal. The red-clothed woman's face flashed a resolute look. When the maid heard this, her face turned pale. Miss, the matter is very important, do you want to report to the leader? No need. The woman in red shook her head. The maid hesitated to speak, but finally held back. Go back first. The woman in red raised her hand to signal. The maid nodded, turned around, the demonic energy vanished, the human figure was scattered, a grey fox jumped out of it, rushed out of the yard, and disappeared into the vast darkness. The woman in red looked at the distant back and jumped. The demonic energy surged like red flames, and a red fox came out of the disillusioned human figure. Its fur is as shiny as brocade, and its long tail is like a flame that is particularly eye-catching in the moonlight. The red-haired fox climbed over the courtyard wall and ran into the alley. Inside the house, the dim light was still on. Through the gap in the window edge, you can see a thin scholar, wearing a long gown and reading at night by candlelight. The red-haired fox was lying on the courtyard wall, looking at the book under the light, a soft color appeared in his eyes. 2 years ago, she was robbed while practicing, was seriously injured, and died in the mountains. It was this scholar who picked her up and took care of her day and night. From then on, she would always come over and watch from a distance in the middle of the night. Just looking at it seemed extremely reassuring. At this moment, the scholar suddenly raised his head and looked out the window, just in time to meet the red-haired fox. The former was slightly stunned, then showed a look of joy, thinking of him beckoning. The red-haired fox hesitated for a while, but still ran down. The book opened the door, leaned over and rubbed the fox's head. "Little fox, are you coming to see me?" the scholar said with a smile. "The sage said that the crow feeds back and the lamb kneels for milk. I didn't expect you, a little fox, to know how to be grateful. It seems that you have a spiritual connection." The scholar was overjoyed and couldn't help but hug the fox. The red-skinned fox squinted his eyes and drilled into the scholar's arms very obediently. Back in the house, the scholar hugged the fox and continued to read. One person and one fox, cuddling with each other in this silent night, conveying warmth. Back home, Joe Deo closed the door tightly, and couldn't wait to take out the corpse of the fox demon hidden in the Kingpan treasure bag. A high-level evil-level monster, he has been in the Yuyeo division for 2 years, and he has only seen it once. He couldn't wait to offer sacrifices to the ancestors. No way, his biggest advantage is that he respects the filial teacher. Sacrifice. Joe Deo flicked his fingers, and a drop of blood spurted out, landing on the corpse of the fox demon. Sacrificing the fox demon to obtain the pure yang qi, a mechanical voice resounded in Zhou Dao's mind. Immediately afterwards, a cloud of crimson dangxia qi descended and floated in front of Zhou Dao. The airflow was like a newborn sun, exuding a warm luster, rolling like a fire. Pure yang qi? What the hell? I made a lot of money this time. Zhou Dao's eyes widened. This is a sacred artifact for cultivation, and he has only seen records in Taoist books. According to legend, in ancient times, only the great supernatural powers could extract pure yang energy from the spirits of heaven, earth, and all things. Today, there are no such supernatural powers in the world. How precious is pure yang energy? Book of Taoism says, the common people keep their thoughts and refine the yin spirit, and the lifeblood of the immortals is pure yang. It means that the essence of mortals belongs to yin gods, with shadows and intangibles. In the understanding of the thoughtful traveler, consciousness and body are separate, and consciousness is generated first, and then there is action. For example, I was thirsty and wanted to drink water, so I got up to get a teacup. But if there is no physical body, this idea of mine cannot be put into action at all and become a reality. Therefore, the essence of human beings belongs to the yin gods, with shadows and intangibles, and they just use their flesh and blood to cultivate. The flesh is the tool of cultivation, and the boat that crosses the gods. The ultimate goal is to cultivate a pure yang from the yin and turn the virtual into the real. Therefore, the Book of Dao has a good saying about practice: the tortoise draws qi into the spiritual root, breathes in the room into the danshan, mortals eat the 5 grains, and I cultivate taiyin to transform into yang shen. The so-called spiritual roots are the 12 channels hidden in the human body. Only when it is opened can it be regarded as a spiritual root. One can swallow the medicinal pills, run it in the danshan life house, store the power of the great medicine with the veins, transform the blood and qi, and nourish the yin and the yang. From then on, you can truly embark on the path of cultivation. The so-called people take food as their heaven. Mortals eat 5 grains to nourish their flesh and blood. Practitioners, on the other hand, eat pills to convince qi, nurture blood qi, nourish yin, and generate yang. The direction and essence of life evolution began to be different. But it is extremely difficult to cultivate the power of pure yang. The human body is a cauldron, and it needs to be extracted bit by bit from the big medicine. Zhou Dao sacrificed and obtained so many treasures, and it was only able to reach the 7 transformations of the refining realm, and there was only a little pure yang power in his blood. As for others, it is even more difficult to achieve this step. This shows how precious pure yang qi is. The ancients said that the gods who eat qi are immortal, so it is pure yang qi. Tisk tisk, good stuff. Zhou Dao's eyes lit up, like a weasel becoming an essence, and he couldn't wait to swallow the pure yang energy and refine it. The energy of pure yang entered the body and turned into a warm current, like a flood bursting a dike, rushing towards his limbs and bones, and then following the 12 veins, into the Danshan, flowing through the internal organs, and reaching the Tianling treasure cave. Rumbling. In an instant, the blood in Zhou Dao's body was tumbling like a boil, making a deafening sound. His breath became more and more expansive, and his spirit was full of energy, and he moved Zhou Tian. Bang bang bang! Only to hear the 15 loud noises, like spring thunder rolling in, bursting forth. 15 thunders! What the hell? Zhou Dao's eyes widened, and he couldn't help but growl. 15 thunders! The blood and qi revolved around the sky, and the sound was like thunder, and the number was 15. With such strength, even in the 7 transformations of refining realm, he can be regarded as a top expert. Among the 3 major guards of Yu Yaosi, Chen Qinggang was only able to reach the level of 3 thunders. With my current strength, I'm not afraid even if I face the 3 major guards. Zhou Dao was overjoyed. Chen Qiangang, Wang Hengbo, and Zhang Baichuan, the 3 chief guards of the Yu Yao division, are all 7 transformations of the refining realm. Except for Chen Qinggang, the strength of the other 2 should not be too different. As far as Zhou Dao knew, Wang Hengbo was the oldest among the 3 major guards, and his official rank was Bailing Bau, and his strength reached the realm of 9 thunders. Zhang Baichuan is the most talented and strongest among the 3 major guards, and his official rank is also 8 feathers. Zhang Baichuan rarely shoots, but his strength should be around 12 thunderbolts. Zhou Dao speculated. Zhang Baichuan has a high level of skills and is very good at training his subordinates. The 2 deputy guards around him are also masters at the level of thunder and lightning, so he rarely shoots. However, according to Zhou Dao's estimation, the strength gap between Zhang Baichuan and Wang Hengbo should not be too big. This can be seen from the official rank. In addition to the seniority and contribution, the most important promotion indicator for the Imperial Demon Division's official rank is strength. Although the 3 major guards have the same official position, Chen Qinggang's strength has only reached the level of 3 thunders, which is somewhat different from the other 2 guards, so the official rank is only 7 feathers of white feathers. As for Zhang Baichuan and Wang Hengbo, they are both Bailing Bau, so their strength should belong to the same level. Now in Ping'an town, there seem to be few people who can beat me. Zhou Dao secretly rejoiced. In just 2 years after entering the Yu Yao division, he has reached such a state that even the strength of the 3 major guards cannot be compared with him. This is all thanks to the ancestors. Now, in the Yu Yao division, I am afraid that only the mysterious lord of the town division can stabilize him. The leader of the first division is at least a master who has reached the 8 transformations of the refining realm true blood qi. After 2 years in the Yu Yao division, Zhou Dao had only seen the Lord Genzi once. Such masters are rare to see dragons, and they rarely move around in the company. Ordinary demon slayer guards can't reach them. Continue to sacrifice to the ancestors. Zhou Dao was confident. As long as he continues to sacrifice, sooner or later, he will reach the 8 changes in the refining realm true blood qi, completely surpassing Lord Genzi. At that time, in Ping'an town, he was an invincible existence. Recently, there seemed to be a lot of monsters in the town. Zhou Dao's eyes glowed with brilliance. When there are too many monsters, the town will be uneasy, and the people of ordinary people will panic. But this way, Zhou Dao has more opportunities to make sacrifices. Exterminating demons and guarding the road, collecting corpses and sacrificing them is really my duty. Zhou Dao grinned, revealing a fox-like smile. He doesn't care about the world's peace and tranquility. He just wanted to stay in the Yuyao division, make sacrifices with peace of mind, and silently improve his strength. Silent all night. The next day, Zhou Dao came to Yuyao early in the morning. Yesterday's battle made the entire Yuyao division's atmosphere tense. Although there are casualties indicators for the Yuyao division every year, more often there are no casualties. Fang Hai is so miserable, even his heart was dug out by the demon fox. There is no complete corpse in death. That demon fox was too fierce. With one blow, it was extremely evil. I heard that Fang Hai's body was burned overnight, and even his family did not see the last face. He was just promoted to Demon Slayer Guard last month, and he died just like that. It was too sudden. I heard that he has 2 younger sisters, and the whole family is pointing at him. Now that he is dead, he will have no support in the future. Many people were discussing in a low voice. The Demon Slayer Guard has a very high status, eats imperial food, and has a great future. That Fang Hai, because of his status as the Demon Slayer Guard, helped the 2 younger sisters to discuss 2 good marriages. Originally, the other party valued his identity as a demon slayer, otherwise, it would be almost impossible to marry into a wealthy family. Still stay in the demon Lian Fang to be safe. Zhou Dao sighed, but he didn't pay much attention and walked straight to the demon Lian Fang. Brother Dao, why did you come? Wang Xiaoai greeted him, lowered his voice and said, Master Du Wei came early in the morning. It looks like it was for yesterday's case. Zhou Dao sighed in his heart. Obviously, Chen Qinggang wanted to deal with those demon foxes personally. After all, it was very abnormal for so many monsters to appear in that house at once. After killing so many people, even the Demon Slayer guards lost their troops and lost their generals, and a high-level evil monster was also missed. When such a big thing happened, this Du Wei couldn't sit still. As soon as he arrived at the door, Su Jian walked out. He was still arrogant, he didn't even look at Zhou Dao and the others, and rushed directly between the 2 of them. Damn, what kind of cow? Wasn't it cleaned up like a dead dog yesterday? Wang Xiaoai gritted his teeth. The demonic energy in this kid is getting heavier and heavier. Zhou Dao looked at Su Jian's retreating back, and murmured in his heart. The dignified demon slasher had accumulated demonic energy in his body, and no one believed him when he said it. I don't know what method Su Jian used to hide it so well. If Zhou Dao hadn't sacrificed his ancestors and masters, and had taken many rare treasures, it would be hard to tell. But that has nothing to do with him. Zhou Dao retracted his gaze. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com stepped into the demon house. Fuck. On the case stage, the corpses of those demon foxes were dissected into pieces by Chen Qinggang, like a large-scale crime scene. Zhou Dao only glanced at it and almost didn't cry out. This horse is too prosperous. If it is used to sacrifice to the ancestors, how many treasures will be obtained? Zhou Dao was bleeding in his heart. To offer sacrifices to the patriarch, you can only use complete monsters, and it is wasted like this. Not to mention the patriarch, Zhou Dao himself doesn't look down on it. I really want to kill him. Zhou Dao's palms were itchy, and he could not wait to slap him. Master Du Wei. Zhou Dao greeted respectfully. Chen Qinggang didn't even raise his head, he just made a light noise. Pulse-splitting knife. Chen Qinggang said suddenly. Zhou Dao heard the words, took out a crystal-clear knife from his toolbox and handed it over. This kind of blade is specially used to peel off the meridians of monsters. As soon as Chen Qinggang took it over, his vigorous blood was attached to the blade, slicing through the flesh of the demon fox like cutting tofu, and the power of pure yang directly dispelled the evil inside. This kind of master's blood is better than any treasure to ward off evil spirits, and he doesn't even need to use any treasures to remove evil spirits. As expected of Du Wei, his technique is really skilled. Zhou Dao looked at Chen Qinggang's movements and thought to himself. This kind of technique is even more powerful than the most experienced and old-fashioned demon sealer. If in the previous life, Chen Qinggang could definitely become a forensic doctor with excellent professionalism and a very high salary. Zhou Dao, it's been 2 years since you entered the Yuyao division. At this time, Chen Qinggang suddenly spoke. The movements in his hands did not stop at all. Zhou Dao was stunned. Since he entered the Yuyao division, he has been keeping a low profile. Apart from work, he hardly has any sense of existence. In fact, no one would notice a mere demon sealer. He did not expect that Chen Qinggang not only recognized himself, but also remembered that he had been in the Yuyao division for 2 years. Is it exposed? The so-called guilty conscience of being a thief, Zhou Dao instantly thought of the most unwilling possibility. 6 months ago, when the Mastiff demon was besieged and killed, only you and Li Yulai survived. Chen Qinggang seemed to see his doubts and stopped the movement in his hands. It turned out to be because of this. Zhou Dao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Half a year ago, that was the only time he had encountered a high-level evil monster since he entered the Yuyao division. A boiled dog became a demon, and the whole village was harmed. It is recorded in the working manual of Yuyao division that dogs who are not tethered will injure people over time, swallow their blood, and become demons over time. In general, dogs are hard to come out as big demons, but there are exceptions. Once they hurt people, they remember the smell of human blood and feed on them. After 13 years of life, they will definitely turn into demons. If the mountain spirit grass is swallowed again, the harm will be even greater, and it can be turned into a mastiff. Half a year ago, that mastiff demon was as big as a newly grown tiger. Its fangs were like sharp knives, and its fur couldn't even pierce a sword and halberd. Back then, the entire village's name was fascinated by its demonic aura, and it looked like a living dead. The mastiff regarded them as animals that could eat at any time, taking some blood and essence for drinking every day. Within half a month, no one came out of that village, as if it was completely sealed off, and this alarmed Yuyao. The situation at that time was somewhat similar to yesterday, but it was not that big of a battle. Only 7 demon slayers went with 2 demon sealers, but in the end, only Zhou Dao and Lin Liulai survived. That woman. Thinking of the past, a beautiful image appeared in Zhou Dao's mind, a graceful figure swaying, and a 3-foot green peak was swaying. It was really lucky that time. Zhou Dao whispered without saying much. You're right, if that girl wasn't from the Lin family, I'm afraid she wouldn't be able to fight off that mastiff demon and save your life. Chen Qinggang said with emotion. Half a year ago, when Lin Liulai first came to Ping'an town, Zhou Dao knew that this woman's origin was not simple. The Lin family is a famous family in the world. It is said that Ping'an town is its ancestral home, so every year there are disciples who come to join the Imperial Demon Division to experience. At that time, Lin Liulai was indeed outstanding. At the age of 16, she was already a practitioner of the 5 transformations of the refinement realm dispelling Fu and Huasha, but this girl was unlucky, and she encountered the accident not long after she arrived. You should really thank the Lin family for escaping death. Chen Qinggang continued. Zhou Dao snorted lightly, and there was a look of reminiscence in his eyes. He was the only one who knew the truth of that year. It was the first time that Zhou Dao had truly seen the cruelty of this world and the danger of monsters since he entered the Yuyao division. Fool, let's go, there's more than one mastiff. At that time, Zhou Dao felt wrong when he just stepped into the village. When he reminded him, it was too late. There is not only one bloodthirsty mastiff demon, but 3. The screams of fear echoed in the sky above the mountain village. When Zhou Dao followed the sound, only Lin Liulai was still struggling to support, and the others were already dead and bloodied. Even his companion who was a conferring demon master suffered miserably. Human life has become worthless at this moment, and the once arrogant demon slayer guard is now just being eaten by those mastiff monsters like food. Run quickly! When Lin Liulai leaned on the 3-foot green peak, swayed, and looked at Zhou Dao, who was standing in front of him. Surprise and eagerness appeared in those blood-smeared eyes. Stupid human beings, even a mere demon sealer dares to come to die. The 3-headed mastiff demon laughed ferociously. For them, this is a rare feast, and the flesh and blood of the demon slayer is more delicious than ordinary people. Well, to be honest, I still like dogs. Zhou Dao sighed, especially hot pot. A long sigh echoed between the mountain villages. The next moment, a terrifying blood energy rose into the sky from Zhou Dao's body, and it was like a cloud of smoke. At that moment, Lin Liulai covered her red lips, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. The 3 mastiff demons couldn't believe it. In their eyes, the ordinary boy-like food seemed to have turned into a demon king in a blink of an eye. The awe-inspiring blood roared like a dragon and tiger, oscillating ceaselessly, evolving into a soldier shape. 6 transformations of the refining realm, thinking to form a soldier. The battle was silent, except for Zhou Dao, only Lin Liulai witnessed it. Of the 3 mastiff demons, 2 died and 1 escaped. One of them was directly crushed by Zhou Dao, and there was no chance of being sacrificed. After the accident, Lin Liulai left Ping'an town. When she left, she didn't say anything, just glanced at it quickly, and when she looked back, she looked at Zhou Dao with doubts, curiosity, awe, and an indescribable brilliance. It's rare that you survived the hardship and survived in the demon house. Chen Qinggang's voice brought back Zhou Dao's thoughts. I love this job. Zhou Daogan smiled. Speaking from the bottom of his heart, he loves a fart, has a meager salary, is dirty and tired, and sometimes has to work overtime on horseback. In his previous life, 996 was already incredible, and he has to be on call 24 hours a day here. If it wasn't for sacrificing the ancestors, Zhou Dao would have quit his job long ago. Who would be arguing with you here? A gentleman is always poor, such a disposition is rare. Chen Qinggang whispered. It's a pity, in this world, no matter how good the heart is, it can't compare to talent. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. As arrogant and domineering as Su Qian, he is arrogant and does not take anyone in his eyes. If he had been in a previous life, Zhou Dao would have sprayed him into a dead dog with his keyboard. However, in the Yuyao division, Su Qian was the 4-feather demon slayer guard of Bailing, who enjoyed a generous salary and was revered by the common people. Do I need to transfer you to another department? Chen Qinggang suddenly said. There are not many young people who are steadfast and hard-working like this and willing to silently contribute to the cause of eliminating demons and defending Taoism. Damn it, are you doing nothing while riding a horse? Zhou Dao exclaimed in his heart, but his expression remained unmoved as he said lightly. Master Du Wei, although the demon sealing master is insignificant, I am willing to shine in this ordinary position. Sacrificing oneself for oneself, no name and no gain, is invaluable. Chen Qinggang sighed again, couldn't help but stopped what he was doing, and looked at Zhou Dao one more time. The highest good is like water, it is below the crowd, and it does not compete for all things, just like the teaching of a sage. This young man named Zhou Dao has something. Try hard. As he spoke, Chen Qinggang lowered his head and continued to devote himself to his work. When Zhou Dao saw this, he breathed a sigh of relief. He stood on the side and started with his hands. It has to be said that as a guard, Chen Qinggang's method of dissecting the demon seal is also a must, which is enough for Zhou Dao to learn a lot. The day passed quickly, and the night filled the earth like a tide. Ping'an town faded away from the hustle and bustle of the day and became quiet. Chen Qinggang, like a workaholic, doesn't seem to want to stop at all. Suddenly, Zhou Dao frowned slightly and couldn't help looking out the door. At this moment, in the hall of the Yuyaasi, a woman in red walked in.